What's up? Camo here, Delta Hive. Want to do a little video on some orb setups. Help you guys understand it more. How I see it. A couple others see it this way too. Of course, there's so many different ways you can use the orb. 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour. For entries, exits, or just levels. You can even have indicators for this. Here I'm just manually drawing my levels. I'm starting about 2 weeks ago from today on the 29th of May. I'm sorry, 31st of May, which is a Sunday. For this video, you'll see two different kinds with the white border and the red background. I marked these as Sunday open orbs. So I have here the opening at 6 p.m. is Eastern time, 6 p.m. all the way until, I know some people do these separate. For me, I keep this on my chart for the whole week. So this orb is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Asia open. Globex 6 p.m., 8 p.m. Asia. And they're both 15-minute candles. These are all 15-minute candles. So I marked this whole section. It's about 2 hours or 2 hours and 15 minutes of orb. I marked this and leave this on my chart for the entire week. Boom. Price is coming up. Creates this top. As you can see overnight, it's not really doing much. Start of the week. Here's the first example. You see, once we cross over to the VWAP, it meets right at the top of the weekly orb, and we start the true downtrend. During Asia, London. These orbs, which you'll see later in the video with the orange borders and the blue background, I'm only doing the 8 a.m. and the weekly orb. You can also follow the London opening, New York open 8, which is we're doing 9:30 as well. I'm just doing 8 a.m. and Sunday orbs for this video. Price comer makes this first orb. A little hesitation on price, since we're still in this weekly zone. As you can see, boom, creates this orb, goes from bottom to top. Probably wipes out a couple stop losses here, some liquidity. Busts down out of here. You can see it, the bottom of this weekly range from the night before. We have some play going on here. And then once we come back into it, it's about 30 minutes after the New York Open, 10:15. Just riding a market average all the way up. Once you bust out of this weekly zone, Monday was just a low to high, high to low day. As you see later in the day, the following day, 8 a.m. orbit still valid. Here we are coming to the second. You see how this weekly bottom still is valid. Price playing here still. Once we cross this market average, once we cross the market average and we cross this weekly, you see the uptrend starts. We're coming. This is a good example right here. See, this 8 a.m. orb forms right on the weekly top range. That's why these levels, to me, at least visually, throughout the week, they just keep getting tested. And without seeing these levels, you really wouldn't know what's going on there. I mean, this could be numerous things going on here too, but you can just visually see how this is no coincidence. This is the market doing what the market does. Boom, you can see here at the open, an hour and a half later, it still is keeping this 8 a.m. orb top strong. You see it bounced off, came all the way to the 8 a.m. orb of the previous day. This is the day before's. Takes out all this liquidity from the day before. Comes out, rides the market average up, finishes the day above the week, the orb. Does this thing overnight. The following day, the 3rd, I believe was a red folder day. We had some oil inventories, ISM, PMI, I'm sorry, ADP as well. It was a pretty strong yellow and red folder day. This was an interesting orb. I actually caught this that day. It was formed up here, just above VWAP and the market average. Tested the VWAP, came back. This was a spike on the 1 minute. Spiked. Click out all this. We can see it still held its top here. If you shorted at the top of this orb top, or even when price came back down here, this was I actually held this for most of the day this day. But as you can see, how many times the previous days, right here, orb, 8 a.m. orb still valid. Strong support here. Came back up. Still strong support, cross market average in the VWAP. Came crashing. Ended the day in the weekly orb zone. Following day, this is still third Asia. Zoning. You can see this is the third going into the fourth Asia. Strong support and resistance levels on. This is still the Sunday weekly opening. Strong support here on the bottom. Strong support here at the top. Overnight dumped off the weekly top. 8 a.m. on the 4th. Create the orb. Range it a couple times, low to high, high to low. This right here, when I see, especially on the 5 and 15, on the 1 hour too, but the 15, whenever I see wicks on either end, on the top or the bottom of the orb, that shows me that there's a lot of resistance from going lower. You can see here prices building up to eventually build up to here. This is a good sign right here that sellers were dying below the orb. The price eventually came up out of this orb, never retested for the rest of the day. Came out of this orb, flew through the day before and the previous day before. This orb, money right here, 817. This is still the weekly opening top orb. Never really went too far out of it. There's a little bit of an end of day crash going on here. Still respecting this weekly orb here. Following day, going into the 5th, which was a Friday and was one of the worst weeks in a year for the NQ. It dropped massively. So mind you, we are way below the weekly zone opening. Keep that in mind. This was the previous day 8 a.m. orb. You see a really strong resistance level. This is what I want some people to see. This was the 8 a.m. orb from the day before, in a strong resistance at the bottom, which to me that day was telling me, hey, there's a big sell coming on. How come 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2? Several times this was tested on the bottom of this 8 a.m. orb, and we are below the week. That was telling me, hey, shorts are coming in. We're about to dump. Like I said, it was also NFP day that day, so it's pretty bad. Red folder day. 8 a.m. orb formed. Did some ranging from high to low, low to high. See it building up, and once price came crashing through here the last time, it never came back. See, that was a huge day that day that we just dumped, and we are way below the week. Starting the new week, which was last week the 7th. Again, weekly opening orb from 6 to 8:15. Have this whole level mark zone. First orb, 8 a.m. This is a pretty chill Monday the 8th. You see where the orb was used as support and resistance up top. Since we were on an uptrend this day, seeing price just barely come below this orb, but still being valid and staying respected, we are on an uptrend, and it's just me showing that, hey, this is just knocking people's liquidity out. Who, some people like to enter this orb and but their stops just below. So this makes sense. You see the stops just below, boom, boom, knock everybody out. This is Monday. Finish the day above the week. Following day the 9th, create this orb. Got some resistance up here. Once it crashed here, you can see, boom, never retested again. Flew through the day before. This was a Trump tweet day. Oil spiking, inflation war, the Iran war, Trump tweets. Boom, we dumped. Just below the week orb, and it corrected itself, as you can see, for the rest of the later afternoon. And all throughout Asia the next day, it ranged in our weekly zone. Kind of pops under with the support, now it's resistance. You see how this level acts as a strong support and resistance level. Now we're at the 10th, which was a CPI day. We had a little bit of high volatility. If you have these levels marked, you can see how strong resistance, support, 8 a.m. orb for the 10th. This is a pretty chill day. This was a nice little trending day. You can see staying just under the market average, just above when it changed the trend. Going into the 11th. We had a CPI was here on the 10th. On the 11th, we had PPI. Small 8 a.m. orb on the 11th. Really don't see too much on support or resistance here for the 11th 8 a.m. orb. Neither the New York opening orb. We can still see the day before 8 a.m. orb for the 10th was actually a little bit stronger than the 11th. You can see here how many times, especially on this one before it spiked and went up. So now we are above the weekly zone. Going into the 12th. We have another one right here, 8 a.m. I'll actually delete this for you guys. Previous days. So it was the Friday the 12th. Pretty ranging day, not too much going on. Starting of the new week here. I'll delete these. Just old orbs. Current week on the 14th, same thing, weekly, 6 to 8:15. Got these levels marked. It's just the previous week that I'm deleting. We got the 8 a.m. orb on Monday the 15th this week. Created, you can see we are on an uptrend. We are above the week. We are on an uptrend on the VWAP and the market average. When I was in this trade, I knew to go long off the bottom of this orb or the top. We're on an uptrend, going long off the orb. You would have entered here at the bottom or even off the top. As long as your stop is at the previous 15 bottom, you would have been fine. Boom, we're up pretty much the whole day on here. Range during Asia, London. 16th, we had pre-FOMC volatility. People setting themselves up for the 17th, which was FOMC. I actually happened to catch this short. I think it was only for about 200 points or so. But I think I ended up exiting around here. It's another good example. You see the change of structure happening. Made this orb. Shorting at the top or the bottom. Price would have never came back. 8 a.m. Even at the opening at 9:30, you would have been fine. Price crash. You see some reaction at the previous day, 8 a.m. orb, when it still kept going. Sellers were there. And you can see here, this is interesting. At the weekly open, see where price stopped. Crashed. Almost 500 points. Around there, 500 points. And stopped with resistance support at this weekly high. Opening week top orb. It still kept going, but as you can see, for almost the rest of the day, from 11 to noon to market close, it just ranged here. Next day, Asia open, worked its way up back to the weekly high. Acted as a resistance, not enough steam. You can see support off the previous 8 a.m. orb, ranging. This is yesterday, the 17th, FOMC. 8 a.m. orb was creating at the weekly top. This is a kind of ranging day. It's FOMC around 2. Just ranging, support resistance off the 8 a.m. orb all day. Around here, 2 o'clock, when FOMC was announced, crashed. You see this weak bottom acted as a support. Broke it and came as a resistance here. Reversed on this uptrend. You can see this bounced on the 17th. Yesterday, this bounced off the 8 a.m. orb, which was formed the Friday before. Friday, the 12th, 8 a.m. orb. The following Wednesday, on FOMC, this acted as a support level. Very interesting. This is very interesting. Reversed. Came through this weekly bottom. Now we're here today on the 18th. Overnight Asia. Previous day 8 a.m. orb acted as a strong resistance. Finally broke it. Weekly top orb acted as resistance, kind of trying to break out, not really doing it. And then today, let me delete this for you guys. Today's orb formed here. Strong breakout. Previous day's orb acted as a strong resistance. You can see right here. This is no coincidence. This is these levels hitting. Shorted off the open. This is New York open. A lot of volatility, a lot of selling going on here. Going, broke weekly top, and look where the support finally caught it, the 8 a.m. orb. Since it didn't break through and this acted as a strong support, this long right here makes sense. Only the wick was formed on the bottom, like I mentioned earlier. It shows a reverse. You see the trend going up on the VWAP and the market average. Boom. As long as your stop was on this previous 15-minute before underneath, you'd be up. Flew up. You see this resistance here, support right now. It did drop again around here to the weekly orb top. You can see we're on a strong uptrend today. These levels are really acting as strong support. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it makes sense, and happy orbs.